Okay, we're in Studio A here, and I'm going to show you how this monitor controller is set up. It's a dangerous monitor, and there's a piece of hardware gear in one of the racks, and this is the controller that controls that. And so here we go. As a default, once you turn on the computer, it's going to be set like this. It's going to have the dim on. It just does that automatically. The dim just brings it down like 10 to 15 dB. Here's the volume control, and that controls whichever set of speakers you have engaged. So we'll start up here with the speakers. All this should generally be off. All this should generally be off, like I said, with the exception of the dim. And you can do this talk back here by hand, but we also have a foot pedal, which I'll show you in a second. Speaker set up here, we have the ATCs, which are our main, we'll say highest end speaker monitor. So that's for the ATC. Then you can switch over here, and it's all labeled here, to these Yamahas, the little, I think they're HS5s or H5s now. So they're good reference, to try to get you kind of a different perspective. And then from there, you can go to, which we currently have is Logitech's. There may be some other smaller speaker. The idea is to get the kind of crummy speaker test, the test to hear how it might sound. So now for the analog inputs. So in order to hear what's coming from Pro Tools, this needs to be selected. So it's labeled as such. That's actually set up on the patch bay, already normal. You don't have to patch anything on the patch bay. Our second set of inputs here is the MAC or aux. Now, currently, and if you watch the patch bay reset video, we have it patched so that the sound card output on the computer feeds this analog input. And so that's how you hear that. If you want to listen to YouTube, Spotify, any of that, that would be the way to go. Now, if you want to get an aux cable, which we have actually right here, we have rolled up for your access here. If you want to have that fed, this is when you have to go to the patch bay. So we're going to move over here. So what we would do there is then we would change from aux out, which is really the MAC, to external out, which feeds that aux cable. So that's how that is set up, and that'll get you into the dangerous monitor unit. So watch the video on the patch bay. You'll see why this is set up as it is. In order to make this work, we have this feeding the headphone Q amp so that the talkback can be sent to the monitor mixers, or to the headphone mixers. And in order for that to work, you've got to have some headphone level, but you also have to send the talkback. So that's 0. And then here's, we have to go pretty high on the talkback level because there's no preamp or amp there. And then the headphone output level there. And then the musician can control their level on their end in the headphone mixer. Well, if you're in here and you want to listen on headphones, the way to do that, you're going to have to remove this. And don't forget to plug that back in when you're done, or if you want musicians to have your talkback mic. Otherwise, the talkback won't feed them. And I happen to have a headphone kind of set over here, set aside. So for the headphones, right there, you can even leave this headphone level where it's at. What you need in order to feed into the headphones is you need to come to this main to Q level. Currently, it's all the way down. It's 0. Main to Q, and it doesn't require that much because this has a powered amp. So, if you're up at a quarter, it's going to be loud, but that's how you're feeding your headphones. But make sure when you're done with that, or if you have other musicians that need the talkback on that side, when you patch this back in, make sure this is turned back down. Otherwise, you're gonna feed them kind of double the signal, and we don't want that. So essentially, it would feed the main into the talkback channel over there, and they'd be hearing the separate individual sends for the headphone mix. So just make sure that's down to 0, and then plug this back in, which is feeding the headphone mixer for the talkback.